Everybody's looking for one ring.
You know, I created this challenge based on, there are a few movies that I'm just like, the last song is the most iconic part of the movie to me. And they're not necessarily all really old nostalgic movies. I have 3 in our game. 1 is from the 80s, 2 are from the 90s. No, actually, that's not true. 1 is from the 90s and 1 is barely in the 2000s. But they all like resonated with me. I remember how the movie ends because of the song.
What about Karate Kid?
Damn it. Darn it.
Some of them want to destroy it in Mount Doom.
Your Eurythmics thing's jacking me up.
No, is it a Peter Cetera song or like a Chicago song? Or is it the one where he does the montage?
No, the Peter Cetera song is, again, I am the man who will find. But that's not the end of the movie.
No.
It's in the middle.
Yeah. Oh, and the one you're thinking of is he's the best. That one?
Yeah, that's the montage song. That's when he's like doing the competition and like kicking everyone's butt.
Well, I hope everybody thinks a little bit more about this.
Wow, Rocky
it's
4.
It's a fun game.
I like it, sir. It's good. Brian Ibbott would love this game, and he'd probably win and beat everybody.
He probably would. We should never let him play.
No, he can't play. It's not fair.
He's disqualified. He can host it, though.
If we ever do another All-Stars, that's a category. I guarantee it.
All right. You guys ready?
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Right. Here we go. 3, 2. Thanks to everyone who supports Daily Tech News Show directly. To find out more, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, August 8th, 2018 in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Feline, I'm Sarah Lane.
And from studio, everybody I'm related to is in town right now. I'm Scott Johnson.
Oh, Long Johnson. Having all the family in town. That's a thing.
It's only a week. It'll be over soon. I'm really happy to be here, though.
There will be highlights, though. Trust me.
When you say your whole family, what are we talking? 20 people? 50 people?
It's probably closer to 50. A lot of extended fans. It's my mom's 80th birthday. Happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday, Scott's mom.
Happy birthday, Scott's mom.
That's great.
We have to celebrate such things, but it's a little hairy for a few days.
I remember Eileen's grandma had her 80th birthday a while back, and we came down to LA. It was before we lived here, and it was a blast. It was really fun. So maybe it'll turn out great.
Yeah, you never know.
Roger Chang is here as well. Roger, how are you?
I'm good.
Excellent.
We'll throw you a great 80th birthday someday, Roger.
Someday, 70 years from now.
Right. Yeah.
Let's start with a few tech things you should know. Actually, wait. Now.
The Magic Leap 1 Creator Edition augmented reality headset for developers has been shipping to select areas in the US for $2,295. Developers can go to magicleap.com and enter their shipping zip code to see if it's available in their area. If it's not, you can sign up for a wait list. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this, or maybe a lot more, later in the show.
I'm very excited about this. Facebook introduced 2 new augmented reality games, speaking of AR, for Messenger's live video group chat that can be played with up to 6 friends. Don't Smile, it's the name of one of them, not a command from me, is a challenge not to smile, and asteroids attack as asteroids that, I don't want to freak anyone out, attack you.
They're like naming a tech news show, Daily Tech News Show. Someone shared pictures on a Telegram channel called Kanal Luchkova, which at first I was thinking, does that mean Happy Channel? But it just means Luchkova's channel. It purports to be a pre-release version of the Google Pixel 3 XL. It's the biggest so-called leak that we've had so far, and even places like Ars Technica are picking it up because it looks pretty legit. Pictures show USB-C earbuds in the pack. It does still have a headphone jack in these pictures. The screenshots indicate it has an 8-core quantum processor, an Adreno 630 GPU, 4 gigabytes of RAM, and screen resolution at 2960 by 1440. There's also a huge notch, and it does what the Essential phone does and squeezes those notifications and stretches them, so you really only see about 3 at a time.
Apple sent a letter to the U.S. House Committee on Energy and Commerce in response to a request for details on how it protects user privacy. The company says it does not associate location information with user IDs and permanently deletes data from iPhones if it doesn't connect to Wi-Fi or power for 7 days. Apple also denied that it listens to customers through iPhone microphones. Well, that's a relief.
It's just so
Potentially.
sad that they had to do that, but
Right.
okay. Let's talk a little bit more about charging.
Yeah, let's talk about charging. EU Commissioner for Competition, Marguerite Vestager, said the Commission is assessing options to address the problem with incompatible phone chargers. Oh, yes, this old chestnut. In 2009, manufacturers, including Apple, Samsung, and Nokia, signed a memorandum of understanding to voluntarily standardize the the micro USB connector. Apple did so by providing an adapter to Lightning, which is what they currently use. Most phones use USB-A or USB-C, though Apple still uses its proprietary Lightning connector. The EU would like to encourage a situation where phones and chargers are bought separately and can be reused across multiple devices. If I were to throw my own hat into this ring, it would be, could we all just go USB-C and quit it and knock it off with all the different things? That'd be great.
I'm all for the goal here, right? One of the goals is cut down on waste. There's a lot of wall warts out there that don't get used and shouldn't need to have been made. And that's just a waste of materials. There's a great convenience to just having a couple of chargers and being able to use them with anything. I'm very, very much against the idea of the government mandating this because of the fact that, hey, guess what? They all agreed voluntarily to use micro USB. And what do we want them to use now? Not micro USB, USB-C. Companies need to be free to be able to improve the charging experience. I think there are other things the EU can do to continue to encourage voluntary compliance. But personally, I just think it will end up being a problem and people overemphasize that it'll slow down innovation. But if a company really could do something cool, but they're like, but we'd have to use a different charging port and we're not allowed to do that, that could become an issue.
Well, imagine a world where we're stuck forever with USB or micro USB, which turned out, in my opinion, I don't want to speak for everybody here, to be kind of crappy. They break, they bend, they short out easy. It's not a great solution. It's nice and small and tiny, but it turned out not to be that great in the long run. Imagine having to be stuck with something like that for a really long time because of some mandate. So in that regard, I agree with you. I wish that the companies would do more to work together toward these standards, but I don't need, for lack of a better term, dumb government telling me which standard is best.
Yeah, and granted, there are lots of benefits to that. And I would encourage the EU to do lots of things short of mandating, because even if they we'll just change to USB-C when that becomes the standard, governments don't move fast.
Yeah, there are so many consortiums that are focused on creating unified standards because it's in the best interest of businesses. However, and Apple's just one example, but it's a big one of a company who's like, we're doing it our way and we want to sell as many things as possible. And if the government doesn't mandate and a consortium doesn't agree on a standard, then, we're still stuck with, I have like Lightning and USB-C, a million of them where I'm like, which one is this? I don't know. Put it in my laptop. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Looks the same. All right, moving on to food. Uber Eats, the food delivery branch of Uber, is rolling out a new price tool that'll vary the booking fee primarily based on your distance from the restaurant that the food is coming from and allow you to choose your maximum booking fee within the app. If, for example, you don't want a booking fee that's over $10, for example. The closer you are, the cheaper it will be, at least in theory. The further you are away, the more expensive it gets. Sort of like surge pricing for food. Even though Uber does this now, but this is sort of different. The fee varies per city, but is currently between about $2 and $8. So, depending on what you're getting, going closer to the $2 is advantageous. Uber Eats first launched in LA back in 2014 under the moniker Uber Fresh, if you remember it back then. Today, it's in more than 293 cities in 35 countries. A few of those countries, by the way, Uber, the car service, doesn't even operate it in.
We used them the other day and got this burger place that's not far from us. Actually, Tom, you and I have eaten there before. Do you remember?
Oh, that place. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It was $2. It was the best, cheapest thing.
So you've already got this. It sounds like that's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. And we didn't even know it. We weren't trying to find out if we had anything new. I didn't even, honestly, until this article happened, I figured this stuff was just standard stuff. We just did it and we went $2. Of course we're doing this, and got everybody food that night. And it was ridiculous. Like, we'll never not do that. So it's great. I love it.
Yeah. Making it a little cheaper, right, to deliver, but it's still expensive.
It also
sorry.
Yeah. Just because I use Uber Eats 4 nights a week, so I have lots of feelings about this. It makes a lot of sense, because every once in a while, if I say I want a burrito, and there's a burrito place that's like close to me, but maybe not my favorite burrito place, and there's a further one away that's the better burrito, but it's going to be $20 at the end of the trip. That gives me a little bit more to say, all right, well, how much do I want that far away burrito? Because Uber Eats, at least for me, never really laid that out.
I don't know, you're just making up numbers, but it's only between $2 and $8, so it's not even going to be $20. It's going to be $8. But you may be like, man,
I mean, $20 for the burrito and the delivery
for the
and
total,
the service fee. $20. I don't want the burrito that bad.
Fifth Domain reports that research from CryptoWire, funded by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, found several OS-level vulnerabilities in mobile devices offered by Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Sprint. Keep in mind, CryptoWire, funded by DARPA and the Department of Homeland Security at the beginning. So these are bedfellows. Vulnerabilities were described as privilege escalations, which is a common vulnerability type in all kinds of computing. Manufacturers were notified of the flaws in February. CryptoWire found vulnerabilities in the Blue Phone in November 2016, which spurred the funding for this further research. The thing that's bothering me about this story is the quotes from the Department of Homeland Security, and therefore a lot of the headlines and a lot of the reporting are making it sound like this is a surprise. They're like, we found something called a privilege escalation, and that could allow somebody to do anything to your phone. We're like, yeah, if you haven't followed security ever, that's going to sound really scary, and it is really scary, and it should be patched. But what I think is positive and what they should be emphasizing is, hey, the DHS funded some research. We found some vulnerabilities and we told the manufacturers, and now they're not vulnerabilities anymore. Isn't that great? This should be a positive story, not a scare story.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to get, I have bad news for them all, though. When Fortnite is available for Android and you can only get it through the official site, there are going to be all kinds of people side-loading things that they are told is official Fortnite or told are extra V-Bucks or free skins that are really stuff looking for access to your phone that will cause all kinds of problems. So, whole separate issue. I don't want to create a whole nother article about it. I just want to put it out there that they should just, if they're worried, they should keep looking, because that's going to be a mess in the next few months.
This is a good use of government money, in my opinion, is fund some reputable researchers. I don't know that much about CryptoWire, but what I do know, they seem okay. But fund reputable, experienced security researchers to find vulnerabilities and get them patched before people who want to take malicious advantage of them do.
There you go. Someone posted source code from Snapchat on Microsoft-owned GitHub. Snap responded with a DMCA takedown notice, and the code was removed. All right, I've set the stage. The user account used to upload the code has no other projects, and nothing certain is known about these people or this person. The user's profile links to a website offering phone programming services and what appears to be modified software. As we mentioned yesterday, Snap reported higher revenues than expected, but its first quarterly decline in users in history. In addition, Saudi Arabia Prince Alawid bin Talal announced he is buying a 2.3% stake in the company. Lot going on with Snapchat. I don't know why.
The DMCA takedown notice and code being removed is, of course, that makes sense, but it was obviously not before it was grabbed, right?
Oh yeah, it's out there. People have copies of it.
It's out there. So I mean,
source code being out there is a good security measure. It may be bad for Snap if people rip off their intellectual property, but security wise, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
I don't know that this has anything to do with any recent earnings report, but to me, this sort of screams disgruntled employee, especially because Snap laid off some people recently. Now, I have no knowledge of that, but that would be my guess because it seems so sort of passive aggressive.
Yeah. Also, I wonder, I mean, I think everybody who makes their own code base and they're building their own products, their stuff should, they should be able to protect that stuff. They should be able to go after those who leak it or steal it, or, this isn't me saying the opposite of that. But I have to wonder what is so big in that code. Like, I understand they've got a platform and it does some stuff, but we're not talking about, we're not talking about crazy features or functionality in that device or in that software that you just couldn't wait to get your hands on. Maybe I am naive to what, certain bad actors who would want it, but
well, I mean, when you think about some of the filters that Snapchat has come up with, even though, yes, this is something that could be replicated with Instagram stories and other apps, a filter that responds to sound, for example, or, I don't know, changes the photo or video in some sort of a way that nobody else is doing. I can see where there are parts of Snap's code, wherever they may be, that somebody would be really interested in replicating or at least digging through.
Yeah, possibly.
I think it's admirable that you're looking for motivation beyond people just wanting to do it to mess with these companies, because that is likely the major point of this. This happened to Apple back in February. If you don't remember, there was a core component of iOS that was posted to GitHub. It's meant to embarrass Apple, and possibly there are people who think it's a way to make these companies shape up and take security more seriously, which is sometimes true, But honestly, it really doesn't have to necessarily have any kind of motivation except someone being willing to say, not only was I able to do it, but here's the proof. And I'm posting it publicly for everybody to see. And I like that it caused a ruckus.
That's true.
Well, mission accomplished, I say.
Speaking of causing a ruckus, on yesterday's show, we mentioned that Elon Musk had tweeted, quote, "I'm considering taking Tesla private at $420, end quote. He eventually followed that up with a letter to employees at Tesla on the company's blog saying such a move would be the best path forward. You might recall Michael Dell did a similar thing with Dell back in 2013 to avoid the pressures of public investors. However, Tesla has $1.9 billion in debt and loses money, making financing the move more challenging. However, it's Elon Musk. He says investor support is confirmed and the move is contingent on a shareholder vote. 6 of Tesla's 9 directors said Wednesday that the board had met several times over the last week to discuss the idea. Sounds like they're serious about it. It wasn't just a tweet. Current investors could sell shares or opt to remain investors in the private version of Tesla.
So I'll admit, 50% chance I thought yesterday that this was a weed joke because it was 420. And it turns out, no, they've been talking about this for weeks. It was just one of those weird Elon Musk things where he decides to make something public on Twitter out of nowhere. It will be a challenging move to take a company with this much debt private, but if he can swing it, it really worked for Dell, and Dell is going back public now. So it could be exactly the thing Tesla needs to escape some of that investor pressure. I think there's an argument to be made that the investor pressure is keeping them honest in some cases, and that could be a problem if Elon Musk is allowed to do whatever he wants. Although, then it becomes your opinion of what you think of Elon Musk.
Yeah, and one would think that the path back would be the same as Dell takes, which is eventually they go public again when they get stuff worked out. But I don't know. The whole thing just feels a little weird, but then it's Elon Musk, so I think I bought in for the weird.
Hey, folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com. All right, as we mentioned, Magic Leap 1 Creator Edition augmented reality headset for developers shipping for $2,300 if you're in the right zip code. Although Magic Leap says that it will roll out more areas that it will ship to as the year goes along. If you can order one, it includes free shipping and setup. They'll help you set it up. And if you want to spend an additional $500, you can get 24-hour replacement if it breaks. So kind of a warranty type situation. If it's not available to you yet, you can sign up for a wait list, and they'll let you know when it becomes available for you. If you've seen it, you know that it's a big old goggle-like headset. And then there's something called the Light Pack that you clip on a pocket or clip on your belt. It's fairly small, but that's where all of the internals are. That's where the NVIDIA Tegra X2 mobile chipset and everything is. And there's a handheld controller. Now, all the reviewers admit that it's actually really comfortable on your head, even though it looks bulky. It's not heavy, and that they forget that the Light Pack is even attached to them. It has a 50-degree field of view, which is a bit wider than the HoloLens 35 degrees, but still much smaller than any virtual reality headset. But again, remember, you're able to see the real world around you. So there's a different challenge going on here. Other specs, if you're interested, 8 gigabytes of memory, 128 gigabytes of storage. Battery life is supposed to be about 3 hours. Charges over USB-C, so all those universal chargers that the EU will mandate will work with it. There's a headphone jack, but you can also use the built-in speakers, kind of like the Oculus Go. They have a deal with AT&T to provide wireless data, but it's not in this edition. This edition only has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. And then there's the apps. There's a web browser, social suite, few kind of tool things for making virtual objects. Dr. Gord Bort's Invaders, an art tool called Create, an MBA app, musical Sigur Rós collaboration Tonandi app. So there you go. It's real, folks. The Magic Leap, which I have been skeptical about for years and said, call me when they ship. Somebody call me. They're shipping.
Hey, Tom, they're totally shipping. I mean, they're not shipping in the way that I want yet, but that's okay. I mean, this is what this takes. And I think this is probably the next logical stage in the rollout. It is a little weird to actually think this is not vapor. I'm not that we all thought it was vaporware, and you and I saw some recent stuff on a stream where we went, oh, well, look, there's an actual unit. And I mean, it's been shown to people. It's not like we don't have some proof that they've been making something, and certainly investors have been piling money on them knowing that they're making something, but it always felt a little vapory to me. And finally, here it is. If I was a developer and it made sense, I would be super stoked about this. I feel like, Magic Leap is in the forefront of AR. Whether they have proven themselves to be in the forefront or not, they are, at least in a PR way. And so we are going to very quickly find out what it's all about. And there were reviews out today of developers are getting online, and they're talking about what they've seen, and they're showing stuff on YouTube and talking about how they feel about it. And it feels like they're okay with it. They're not.
I mean, Magic Leap set up expectations that this was going to be like tiny little things that shoot light into your eyes, and you'll barely even know they're there. And didn't show anything for years. And now we know why, because they've shown some of their early prototypes, which were like gigantic headsets and refrigerator-sized processors. So they've come a long way. But in the process, I remember the CEO saying they weren't going to ship until they had a consumer product. Now they've backpedaled to say, well, it is a consumer grade product, even though we're only shipping it to developers. And it really feels like it's a slightly more comfortable, slightly wider field of view version of the HoloLens.
Yeah. As somebody who I put in my zip code earlier, and it is shipping to my area. If I had $2,300, it'd be right on that. But I guess my initial question is, okay, well, assuming there's limited availability, what is the reason behind the regional areas that could get it now rather than, other regional areas full of developers who are really interested that don't? And what does that do for sort of that second marketplace? Yeah.
I mean, my guess is they only have so many of these things they can afford to make for whatever reason, right, whether it's capacity or cost. And so they're targeting like, well, we know that there's developers in the Bay Area, so we're gonna include the Bay Area and Seattle. Yep, Seattle's in. Oh, LA, Silicon Beach. Yep, okay, LA. Oh, New York City, absolutely. Got to include New York City, and they go down the list from there, where it's most likely that they'll hit a lot of developers who will come up with something good, right, because this is what they're after. They're after like, okay, what is Magic Leap good for in its current form? Ronnie Abovitz has said a lot of great things about what it could be good for if it ever gets to that final non-invasive form where you barely even notice it's there. But what is going to make people put on these crazy goggles and use it is a whole different question.
Yeah. I mean, I also think that they can't ignore the existing numbers for VR headsets sold. And I understand that that's a very different business. It's a very different approach, not really speaking to the technology so much, but the adoption, while growing, is small. It's like 4 or 5 million headsets out there that are broken up between various Oculus and Gear variations, and then the desktop stuff, Oculus and Vive and so on. This doesn't include mixed reality headsets coming from Microsoft, Dell, and everybody else. So they have to look at those numbers and go, well, we need to, how are we feeling about the initial adoption if we were to go public with this, if this thing was a $300, $400 device? Like, what are our expectations based on some of that performance? I know that plays a role in this. And so I think this is the smartest thing to do. Get it into the hands of very creative, very technically proficient people who can make rad stuff happen and then show that off. And then suddenly maybe you've got yourself a platform. But this is a real make or break moment, I think. I think this is going to be really important to them. They can't do like Google and just go, send all your glasses back. We're done with that for now. We're going to maybe work on something later. Like this is
also not done with it. Just moved it to enterprise where it's very successful.
Well, you know what I mean, though. Like they have the option to do that, to move it around. Magic Leap's not going to do that. This is their product. This is their number one thing. They're not going to suddenly go, back burner that one. We'll work on something else. Maybe move it to a different department. Like this is the department. This is the product.
Yeah, this is all they got. I mean, they have a lot of investment from Google and others, right. but it's just them, and this is their thing. This is the one thing, and they've got thousands of employees. I mean, this is not a small startup. This is a huge venture. They are gambling a lot. I mean, people complain about MoviePass and the burn rate of MoviePass as they tried to build up enough users to make it. And who knows? Maybe MoviePass will still make it. It doesn't look good, but who knows? Magic Leap is burning way more money. It just isn't in the public eye or affecting you directly right now.
Magic Leap also raised over $2 billion. So
yeah, that's the money I'm talking about that they're burning. Yeah,
they're burning it, but it's also, if they had raised $2 million, the sort of thing, we've seen companies crash and burn, very early on or earlier than the company was certainly hoping for this very reason. So that kind of R&D phase, Magic Leap has had a bit of a pass just because so much money was raised initially.
Well,
but
they were able to convince people that it was worth it. Right.
Well, and also, I mean, that's part of that crazy sticker price. I mean, to me, it's like, that's a crazy sticker price. I don't know who has that money. I mean, obviously, if you're a developer, or you're I don't know, richer than me, or both.
Well, but the HoloLens is more expensive, so
exactly.
It's. I'm a small startup with a little bit of seed funding. I can afford one of these.
Right.
Sure, one perhaps.
And if you had a business that was looking for the AR as being part of whatever you had in mind for whatever your little sub business was going to be, and you need AR to make it happen, this is a perfect investment for you. But all of those parties are having to think about adoption, and that initial adoption rate has not been great for VR. As cool as VR is and as great as it's advancing, and there is growth, it's just a little disappointing. So there are entire studios, for example, in the video game world, who have stopped working entirely on VR only focused products and said, we're making a 2D version you could just play on your monitor and your mouse and keyboard. And that will help sort of supplement them through this period, because they have to. And I think AR is looking at a similar initial launch and rollout.
It's not as good as Ronnie Abovitz led us to believe. It's not as good as that sticker price Sarah's mentioning would make you think, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah. All right.
You know what else is good? Everybody who participates in our subreddit. God love you. Submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. We're also on Facebook. If you want to hang out with us over there, come on over. Facebook.com/groups/dailytechnewsshow.
Oh, you and your newfangled Facebooks and your Reddits. What about electronic mail, Sarah?
Oh, funny you asked, Tom, because we got an email from Jude who says, just following up on your conversation from Tuesday's show, episode 3341, regarding ordering products using Amazon's assistant. We all know her name. Jude says, I was having a conversation with my wife about needing protein mix. She interrupted our conversation and asked if she should place an order for that item. I believe I was saying something with the keyword, but it was too cool to have a conversation in normal language, trigger an activity I actually wanted. So I did go ahead with the order, since she also stated the price of the item and said that I had ordered it previously.
I love this email because normally the kind of email we get is someone saying that this kind of thing happened and how angry they are and how awful the echo is. And I love that Jude's like, well, we actually needed the protein powder, so it was kind of cool. Like, all right, yeah, no, you're right.
She interrupted me, but I have bought this before, and that's a good price. Go for it.
Yeah, why not? That was great. I love that email. Also, Sakib wrote in and said, on Tuesday's show, Thomas wrote in saying that it feels as if assistive tech is 20 years behind the rest of the world. While this may be true in some cases, in several areas, people with disabilities are way ahead of the technology adoption curve. I'm a blind software engineer at Microsoft and, shameless plug, lead a team working on an iOS app called Seeing AI, which has been mentioned on DTNS a couple of times. It's a talking camera app which describes the text, people, and objects around you. Thomas should give it a go. Love the show. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Sakib. Yeah, it's we have talked about it, and it does work. I've tried it out, so that's a good one to remind us of. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Saqib, and also Jude, and also Scott Johnson for being with us this fine Wednesday. Scott, I know you got a full house in the old Salt Lake Valley this week. What else has been going on?
The whole valley's full this week. There's a lot going on, as always, around here. We are just about ready to fulfill this playing card Kickstarter I started back in the early summer. We're completing it. I guess it was late spring. And it will be shipping soon. So if any of you are listening and you were part of that, good news, that stuff's coming soon. You will have your decks. They are in the printer's hands, and we are moving right along. But for that and all other active projects I have going on, be that shows, art, illustration, whatever it may be, head on over to frogpants.com. And as always, catch my intermittent ramblings at Twitter. I'm at Scott Johnson.
Don't forget, folks, I'm headed to St. Louis sometime in September that I really need to remember to add the date to before we do the next show, which I believe is something like September 6th. I don't know. Something like that. If only I had written it down. Oh, 6th and 7th. I will be in the St. Louis area, mostly in the Metro East area in Illinois. So I'm looking for places to host the show. I've got a few leads, and I'm taking care of on Thursday, but I'm still looking for a place in Illinois on Friday. And once I get that down, I'll be scheduling a meetup. So keep tuned for that if you're in the St. Louis area. And if you have suggestions for places to do the show, feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. Thanks to everybody who supports this show and is able to communicate with us through the Discord, through the Slack. We have great conversations going on in both of those places right now, and you should join them if you haven't already at patreon.com/DTNS.
Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. If you got St. Louis recommendations for Tom or anything that you'd like us to know about you, get it off your chest. Write us. It's good stuff. We're also live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. That's 2030 UTC, and you can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live.
Back tomorrow with Justin Robert Young. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to stand and applaud Roger Chang on a masterful timing of the show.
Yeah, well done.
That was crazy good.
Nailed
You're
it.
suggesting the previous ones weren't good?
Yes, exactly. This was a slam on you for previous. No, it just worked really well. Can't I take the
oh, you look
compliment,
so
Roger?
thin today. It's like, what, you said I was fat before?
I love that.
No applause for Roger's ability to take a compliment.
No, it's Roger shares. I have the same affliction where someone's like, "Your hair looks so good." I'm like, "Did it not yesterday?"
When you grow up in
I have
a
the same impulse too.
household, the
Oh,
compliment.
you look nice today. Oh, so I look like crap yesterday. I get it.
Right. Yeah.
I love that.
Those compliments become suspicious. Like, wait.
Well, this one was only met with love.
Well, my favorite burger place down the street, which I talk about with regularity, I was in there the other day, and one of the bartenders, she's been there as long as I've lived here. I think she's a bit of a lifer. She was like, "You look so good. Did you just come from a job interview?" And here I am, like, eating a cheeseburger alone, watching like baseball, and I'm like,
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
"Thank you." But I'm like, so it means that, like, she was so shocked at how put together I was, which to me, I'm like, I don't know, I look like the same every day. I'm like, I must look pretty bad the rest of the time.
Well, let me rush to reassure Roger and everyone else that you do a great job of timing the show, but today was especially good.
Yes. Especially.
Especially.
Oh, speaking of especially, what is...
Speaking
Justin Robert Young is on the show tomorrow.
Yay.
Hey.
Oh, that's right. He was an special.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ah,
Scott, we were talking about the, people sort of pronouncing things wrong.
Don't bring it up. He'll go nuclear on you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. A real mischievous one, that Justin.
Yeah. He's whenever we have a weird word on Unfriend Me, he's really fun to hear, but then I can't say much because I'm terrible with pronunciations of like hard names. I can't do
You're
it.
probably right.
Yeah, Prawley.
Nope. I think probably is like, that's a pass. Because you're not.
Is it? It's probably a pass now.
I think I do.
Ah.
Well,
It's probably
Probably to me is SMS speak. When someone says probably, I know they mean probably. It's not that they actually think the word is probably.
No, that's true. It still bugs me though.
yeah.
And library.
Library.
Library is just from The Simpsons because there's the episode of where Lisa Simpson thought she would become fat and unsuccessful.
Wait, Tom.
Simpsons created library. Pass it on.
How do you feel about waint instead of wait?
Oh,
Wait.
I've never heard of that.
That's
awful.
That's not
never
a
heard of
thing.
I do that totally by accident. It's because my dad used to do it, and I remember hearing it all the time. But he would say "waint" like with an N instead of "wait."
Oh, I've never heard
Oh,
that.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
No.
Sometimes I'll say both instead of both, so BOL.
Both.
Yeah, both.
Both. I've heard both.
That
yeah.
one kind of, I hear myself saying that sometimes, where I'm
Those
like, I don't know
both rank
what,
up there
like,
with Warsh for me, which
Yeah.
is those sound like
So,
accents.
wait, let me ask you a question, Scott. Did your dad have all his teeth?
Yeah, he did. He had them all.
I mean,
Both-
let's not be rude to people without all their
I'm just
teeth.
saying,
Are
like,
you sure they were?
Yeah.
sounds like something you would say if you like didn't like were missing like,
Both?
maybe a front teeth. Both.
Oh, see, I both is more of like, that's just like a lazy thing that like I say sometimes.
Yeah, same here. I know when I'm doing it too. And it's
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
reminds me of Southern Illinois. It feels like an accent related thing.
Yeah, if you say ice cream and vanilla and I say both,
Oh wait.
that wouldn't
didn't.
even that
You
like
that sounds
vanilla,
normal
though?
to me. Vanilla, no.
Do you like didn't? How about didn't? I didn't do it.
Didn't?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that.
I wouldn't either, but I like that.
No, no,
Do you
no.
believe in Magic Leap?
Yes, I love it.
Or
That's
do you
great.
like calling Tom Magic Leap has shipped?
That's good too.
I think
I like Do You Believe in Magic Leap though? That's perfect.
You can do magic leap.
Leap.
I don't know how the rest
Loved
of
that song.
you desire.
Mm-hmm. Who sang that? Was that old Steve Miller?
Oh,
Am I
maybe.
getting that right?
It might be Steve Miller Band. Yeah.
Because you think of Steve Miller as like the space
The guy.
cowboy, right?
Wait, was it
No,
his
it's
actual
America.
name or was it just
You
the
Can
name
Do
of the
Magic
band?
is America.
Oh, it's America. Steve
That's
Miller had
America.
something magic-ish. Like,
Like, do you believe in magic?
well, I don't
That
know.
was-
Let's look up
That
their
was
discography.
that was not Steve Miller. Do you believe in magic?
Magic in a younger-
Cool Magic is Steve Miller Band.
Okay. All right. So I was.
confused too. Don't feel bad.
eh.
Do You Believe in Magic is The Lovin' Spoonful.
Oh no!
Oh,
No, I know what it was. I know what it was. It wasn't anything of magic. It was
Abracadabra.
abracadabra. That was Steve.
Yeah, I
The
didn't
same
say that.
era as You Can Do Magic by
Yeah,
America.
exactly right.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
both like magic stuff.
Totally.
So as a kid, I was like, oh,
We
yeah.
called that magic rock.
Did you not? You didn't.
No,
Did
we
not.
We never did. I just made that.
come to my mystical custom painted van with the carpet.
We called that Satan's rock.
I do. My mom reminded me recently that when I was very young, that the band Kiss scared me because it was all the makeup and it wasn't the music. Like I didn't,
Yeah.
like, we weren't listening to Kiss at home really, but I was like, this is like late 70s, but it would be like, oh, it's the Scary Devil Band because
I love it.
yeah, because it was sort of like Halloween, but all the time.
I never got into Kiss.
I didn't either. Couldn't even tell you one song.
I actually didn't really like. It's not like I hated their music. It's just like never clicked. It's like
Not great. It was all about the gimmick, and all the best thing they ever did.
Beth, what can I do?
But so this is the thing about Kiss. Kiss is more memorable for their fans, I think, than their actual. It's like
Hey, y'all are
like
wrong.
the Grateful Dead. Like
Just
you know
all
more
wrong.
about them because of the fans.
Wrong.
than you do
Right,
about
right,
The band
yeah.
itself.
That TV show they made was awesome. That weird TV special, the demon one, that was awesome.
What? That
Wait,
Kiss
you ever
did
seen
or
that?
Grateful
Kiss
Dead?
rocks.
Oh,
Oh,
it's so good.
I haven't
It's
seen
called-
that.
It
No.
was like a haunted old amusement park or something.
Wait,
And
was this an episode of Scooby Doo?
Wanna rock and roll.
No,
Oh,
night.
oh, I know that one.
they all had powers
yeah,
and stuff in the live
Oh,
action.
that's a good one.
Wait,
Yeah.
wait, who was this?
Yes,
Oh, was this in the 80s, 90s?
yes.
I vaguely remember that.
I'm gonna look it up and name it so you guys will know. That
You know what's funny is I never realized they wore platform shoes until like the 90s. It's like,
You just thought they were tall.
yeah.
Oh,
I thought
Phantom.
they were
It's
just
called
really tall
Phantom.
dudes.
Kiss meets Phantom in the Park, 1978.
So good. I remember watching that on a Zenith television.
Yeah, it's so good.
Who didn't have a Zenith television?
Pretty
I
much,
didn't.
yeah.
Like everyone had a Zenith.
We had an RCA and a Zenith. Those were our two
We had a
brands.
Zenith and a Mitsubishi, which was our first color TV that I got at
I don't
Dave,
think my dad would have bought a Mitsubishi. He got over that eventually, but
Dave Matthews.
That's sort of like my dad. We're getting a Ford. That's what
Yeah.
we're getting.
Not buying a Japanese car.
And we had Fords for many years, in fact. Mom, if you're listening, tell me what that black and white TV was. Maybe it was a Zenith and I'm just wrong. It was like our first TV that eventually I got to put in my bedroom, but it was black and white and only had 13 channels.
we all were
I,
on
just
that
rem-
Kiss.
I remember TVs being so expensive, you took it to a place to get fixed instead of buying a new one. Like,
Sure.
it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Remember that? That was-
I have to figure out how to get my vacuum cleaner repaired.
What kind of vacuum is it? Is it like an upright or is it a canister? If it's an upright, is the motor running and the belt not turning?
No, I know what happened. You know, when you have like blinds, the thing that pulls the blinds down, somehow part of that broke off and my vacuum cleaner sucked it up. And so now the thing that does this
the rotating
doesn't work
brush.
because that's in there. And I don't know how to fix it. But it was like an expensive vacuum cleaner. I don't want to just get it.
Yeah, that should be an easy fix. They should be able to just take it apart and pull that out.
I mean, I
Hopefully no one
tried,
else
but
is
I was
wrong.
like, I don't want to break it. But it's like, yeah, where do you go to get a vacuum cleaner repaired these days?
Oh, yeah. There are some vacuum cleaner stores still around. Yeah,
Sure,
I bet they would do it.
Oh, my mother has gotten back to me.
Wow.
Linnell says the black and white TV was probably a Zenith. We got our first color TV at Kmart.
Oh, Kmart.
Which is weird because I'm like, I don't remember us ever going to Kmart.
All I remember from Kmart was the
Yeah, it
Blue
wasn't
Light
allowed to go.
special and was it Jordache? I remember Jordache jeans being a big
Jeans.
thing when it came.
Oh yeah.
I remember that.
That was
we
Brooke
would always get
Shields.
ices at the.
Yes, ices,
Yeah.
carbonated
that.
frozen beverage.
You can get those different places now, but at the time, Kmart was like your only shop for that stuff.
Couldn't
And,
get those at Target.
Yeah. And I remember
Venture.
that Christmas music every year was a big deal. In fact, I have that somewhere in MP3 form.
What? The Kmart Christmas music?
Kmart produced its own Christmas album.
Was it like
Wow.
related to a certain artist or?
Nope, they would just play it
Kmart didn't go out of business. What are people
they play it during
Kmart's still around.
store hours, and it would just be on repeat all the time. And I loved it when I was a kid. And somebody recently sent me the whole thing on MP3, and I've got it.
That's like, was it the same soundtrack year after year?
Yeah, you're right to have these questions.
What are the copyright issues?
It's really weird. I mean, they were all traditional songs, except they had one or two Kmart jingly songs that were Kmart ads, basically, but they sounded Christmassy because they had bells.
Of course,
It's
yeah.
super dumb. But
Kmart is your Christmas place. that kind of
Tom,
thing.
speaking of Christmas, I had a question for you because I know you saw Mariah Carey in concert recently.
I did. Yes.
Now, one of Mariah Carey, whether you're a fan or not, you probably know that one of her biggest hits, world renowned, is "All I Want for Christmas Is You." Did she sing that, considering that it's off season?
Nope, she did not.
All right.
Now, keep in mind that I don't really know what I'm talking about in these next few sentences. But if I understand things correctly, she had a Vegas show that was all of her number one hits.
Okay.
And
All right.
then she wound that one up. And this one, whose name I can't recall, is sort of based around her original album, her first album.
Like Vision of Love stuff.
Or
That was her
maybe
first. That was her
another
first
album.
number one hit.
It's
but
based
I'm positive
around
about that.
this particular show is based around an album and the 20th anniversary of that album, and it's avoiding a lot of the number one hits because she had a whole show of those and giving some love to the number two hits and the other stuff.
Right, the Mariah Carey B-sides, if you will.
Not even B-sides. I mean, she's such a chart topper. Like these are all
It's like
top hits for
what
other
Mariah
artists.
Carey song like wasn't a top
Yeah.
40 song.
No, exactly.
Well, I don't know. As time goes on, I find myself liking her more and more. It's inexplicable. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, now I know who to go to, and I need my Mariah Carey information. Either one.
Eileen Rivera is the one to go to.
Right.
Because when we saw Jennifer Lopez for Eileen's birthday a couple years ago in Las Vegas, I knew more about for whatever reason.
Sure. But she has less number one hits.
I don't know. I've heard most of these songs. Like, yeah.
Yeah, Mariah Carey was. We've talked about this before, but I actually had a song of hers in my head, like weirdly for like a month recently, where it's like, this must mean something. You know, why is this earworm coming out of 1997? Just part of my, all being.
Yeah.
For no reason. I mean, it wasn't because you said you were going to see her show. Or I don't know, maybe
did it work its way through your subconscious?
Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
The human mind.
Going back to Kmart is difficult if you don't have one.
If you don't, I go to one every other weekend.
Do you really? There's one.
There's a one next to a Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh,
Why are you going there?
Because
Roger lives in the
cheap.
1980s. I don't know if people realize this. He has a Kmart and a Chuck E. Cheese.
I don't know why people give Kmart a hard time for a lot of valid reasons.
It went out of business in a lot of places. I get that. And I think someone says it's owned by Sears now. I don't know if that's right.
Yeah, and there are very few left. Like ours are all shut down.
The reason I brought it back up is when I was a kid, we would go to Kmart in the, suburban St. Louis area. We'd drive towards St. Louis and there'd be like around St. Clair Square, there's a Kmart. We'd go to Kmart, right? No big deal. Kmarts were big back then. One day when I was young, we went to Vandalia, Illinois, which is actually east of us, so farther away from St. Louis, and downtown in their little square, downtown Vandalia, which is only a few thousand, just like Greenville, they had a shop called Kresge's. And I was inside, we're looking around. It just looked like the dime store that we had in Greenville, but the tags all said Kmart. And I asked my mom, I was like, why are they pretending to be Kmart? Like, she's like, no, this is what Kmart grew out of. It was a chain of dime stores called Kresge's. And then they opened the big stores called Kmart. And it blew my mind that I was like, I'm in history. I'm in an original prototype of Kmart.
I love that your first assumption was that Kmart was that they were pretending to be Kmart.
Well, yeah, because I'm like, no, the place is called Kresge's, not Kmart. What are they trying to pull here?
Good logic is the best logic. I love it. The right thing.
I don't know. I have a special place in my heart. And Gemco. And Best.
Hey, look, back when the Sega Dreamcast came out, it was the only place I could get one. So I'll give them credit for that, I guess.
Oh, yeah. So the Fixer sent a USA Today link confirming Sears Kmart stores set to close in January.
Another 60 plus Sears Kmart stores.
And Sears does own Kmart.
Yeah, Roger, your time is limited at Kmart.
I mean, I'm not married to it. It's not like I gotta set up an urn or something.
Oh, how quickly!
Good thing, because
I just say I don't. It is what it is. It's good. You go there for cheap candy and cheap drapes. That's what I go there for. And shades.
Okay. I have to pass this along because it's too funny. But we have to wrap up our video. So if you think it sounds like it's really funny, become a patron or check out the end of Good Day Internet, patreon.com. Video people, thanks everybody for watching. We will see you tomorrow.